Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back, fans. You're about to witness another comic book countdown. That's right. And today we are on episode number 38, and we have 13 comics altogether, and one digital, and the rest are hard copy. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this week's countdown, starting with number 13. That's right, guys. Red Lanterns issue number 25. Great cover. Unfortunately, that was probably about the best thing about this particular issue. And this is disappointing because this issue or this series is usually a really good series, and I did not like this issue whatsoever. Lots of dialogue, very forgettable issue. It has a guy talking about with his crew members about them being in charge of space sector issue 2814, and we have a whole bunch of space pirates that they're going after, and then you got Atrocitus in the I forget the cat's name offhand, trying to find the Red Lantern so Atrocitus can get the red ring back, and it was just for some reason it was just a real boring and forgettable issue, and I just didn't like it, and I hated it, to tell you the truth. I don't never seen an issue from the most recent Red Lantern series that I didn't like so much as this one, and I'm giving this one a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Number 12. Batman, Son of Damian, issue number 2 of 4. This is a mini-series written by Andy Kubert. Artwork is done by Kubert as well. Here you got the cover of Damian holding the bat suit. Here's your interior art. The book reminds you of something from the 90s, literally. Once again, the interior art is kind of drawn like 90s art. The pages are not glossy. So they're like paper, which also reminds you of a 90s book. And this story really reminded me of a 90s issue. We see Damian continue his struggles with being the next Batman. We also see in this issue that he fights Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne never really truly died in the first issue. By the time Damian decides to be the next Batman, he winds up getting the new bat suit, and he winds up becoming this right here. And I'll show you guys in a second. What is that? It just pisses me off. I think that's horrible. It's like he's wearing a dress, or it's like he took the cape and he wrapped it around his waist and he put a belt on it. I just found that just really cheesy, and I thought that the ending was just as cheesy as well. When you sit there and you see the villain and you get to see children being controlled by the villain and they toss them out the window. I just didn't like this story overall. It just, for me, it reminded me of 90s comics, and not early 90s comics, like later 90s comics, when comic companies were struggling to get stories out. The first issue for me was really, really good, and this issue, for some reason, it was so disappointing. I thought it would be better. I just didn't like the story that was presented here. I kind of wish things went differently. So I gave this one, I think it was like a 2 or 2.5 out of 5. Just didn't like the issue. Next, we go on to number 11. And number 11 is All New X-Men, issue number 19. This issue is a complete filler issue all the way through. You got the new first-class X-Men with magic going out on the field, and they just start coming across these people that are just like, they worship God, and everything is God related, and the mutants are Satans, and they're devils, and again, you got Magic, you got the whole crew here, all the first class, and then you got Magic and Kitty Pryde's in there as well. But she's chasing after Laura X-23. That's the only thing that made you want to say, hey, what's going on with the next issue? Otherwise, this was just very forgettable. The artwork is a different artist in here, which made the characters look a little bendy, you know what I'm saying? They would bend in different proportions and whatnot. You get feet to the face, and you got like I want to see Beastman's freaking Beast's foot in my face. You get horrible facial expressions in this issue. Body structure at times was okay, but I overall same thing. This issue was kind of rough for me, very fillerish, and by the time you get to it, you find out who Kitty Pryde was chasing after all this time, and again, it was Laura X-23, and you find out that she has no hair. And if you're not familiar with what happened with her, is that in Avengers Arena, she got burnt to a crisp in the second to last issue, and now that the planet, now that Arcade and everyone is done and taken over with, she's back into the real world now. I guess she's trying to find her place, and Kitty Pryde has found her. So it looks like X-23 is going to be involved with, I guess, this team. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, so filler. I couldn't stand it either. It was like 2.5 out of 5 stars. So these first few issues for me were just really rough. Next, we go on to number 10. Number 10 is Cataclysm Ultimate Comics X-Men. Now, I don't read the X-Men and Ultimate series that often, so maybe that's why this fell a little bit lower on my grade this week. But this particular issue had to do with, trying to get you to fill in what happened in the last story arc, where they're at, where they all take place. The issue does a decent job of trying to get you to know these characters before you dive into the Cataclysm event. So you learn about Rogue and Jimmy Hudson, Iceman, Plant Man, and Storm. And so you get to learn about these characters a little bit. And there's always humor in here when there's Iceman involved in a comic. And you get to see that between Rogue and Iceman, which was fun to see. And then you get to witness Galactus make his appearance here. And what our team of X-Men have to do in this particular issue is they're trying to find Pixie, and then all of a sudden Pixie transports them into this different place, and they wind up finding this Galactus swarm as well, just like how the Ultimates were in the last series. And by the time you get to the end of the issue, you have not my favorite guy in the world, and that's Rick Jones as Captain Marvel coming to save the day. Okay, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. I could have done better. I wish the artwork was a little bit better in there, and I wish I didn't see Rick Jones. I didn't really want to see him because I didn't like him in Hunger. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5, and that's pushing it. Next we have, I think we're at number 9. That's right, number 9, and that is KickAss 3. Issue number 5. Once again, very little progression happens in this actual issue. You get to see the Skull and Crossbones gang, or they call themselves Robin Hood or whatnot, and they wind up stealing lots of money, so they get introduced in this particular issue. And we can see that they're causing all these crimes and lots of blood in the beginning, but they're cops, and they're dressing up kind of like the heroes and committing all these crimes. But yet they're giving out these environmental messages. But what this issue really had to do with, most parental guidance warning, is Dave having his relationship with Valerie. And the book is very, I want to say it's explicit. It has a lot of sexual content in here, lots of nudity, but there's nothing that progresses the story. You get to see the relationship between his girlfriend and his best friend, and you get to see, you get to see how Dave is actually happy for the first time as being a normal human being and not as a just a superhero type, always doing things like beating up the bad guys. And you see that he's hanging out with friends, and he's protecting his girlfriend. And what this issue reminded me of is like Superman 2. I think it's 2, when you get Clark and he wants to be normal and he has his powers taken away from him, and bad things happen, and then he doesn't have his powers anymore. and then eventually he's going to go back into the suit and go against crime. And that's what I feel is what's going to happen with KickAss here, because by the end of the issue, you get to see all of the heroes that were protecting the city or that were dressing up get killed, which was cool at the end. It was a good cliffhanger at the end of the actual issue. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. Again, lots of dialogue, not an extreme amount of action that's happened, or we still don't get anything with Hit Girl. When is that all going to take place? I know the series is ending soon, and it's just like it's taking forever to develop, and that's my biggest gripe about this particular issue, and that is Kick-Ass. So that got 3 out of 5. So next we go on to, I think we're on number 8. Yep, we're on number 8. And that has to do with a digital book. And that book is, once I get it to load, Saga, chapter number 16. This issue was pretty good. Again, we have a lot to do with these reporters trying to find out about Alana and what she represents in this whole thing. And we're getting some hint that she is a spy, and a deep undercover spy. And once these reporters get this information, this guy right here calls for a bodyguard for a bounty hunter to get them taken care of, because he doesn't want any of the information spilled out, which I found interesting. Most of the issue, however, otherwise was pretty much filler between Marco's mom and the author here, and we see a relationship building between the mom and the author of the book. And then we get to see what happens with Will. He was poisoned in the last issue, and he was being killed by you could see that slave girl Sophie was stepping on her, trying to do the final blows to kill her, but she was really just hallucinating because she ate some bad fruit or whatnot. And there's a lot of humor in here, which is which is what Saga has. More nudity, which seems to be a lot with these books lately. And but the overall issue was pretty good. It was solid. Saga is always an entertaining read. However, this book was a little bit short for me. It was, I want to say, probably 3 out of 5 stars. Most of it was filler. And, we finally get to see Prince Robot IV make his appearance on Quintessa as well. So now we're going to get to see some of the story move a little bit forward. So that was Saga, and that was number 8. So we have number 7, and that is Avengers Arena Murder World. This is issue number 18. This concludes this series. That's it, guys. Graduating class of 2013. We get to learn what happens to all our characters in this issue, who lives, who survives, what happens to Arcade, what happens to Apex, or her name is Katie, who was in the end the sole controller of Murder World. She got persuaded by Arcade to control Murder World and to defeat all of our players in Murder Island. She has a split personality where her brother's like involved with her, so she's kind of like a it type of thing. And we find out that I'm sorry, I just lost track of. Sorry, I got the text. We find out that Death Locket is the one that winds up putting the end to Katie and to her brother or whatnot. And we can see that they were fighting all these insect creatures, all our characters, and they were fighting each other, and everything comes to a head just like that, though. It feels like everyone was going to die, and just as soon as Katie got killed, then everything ended. Everything was okay. We get everyone collecting, all the players of the game getting sent out back to their normal world. But I did think that the best thing of the issue was that Arcade had already escaped. He had everything on camera, and he put it on a flash drive, sticks it in on the computer, and you get to see that here. He's standing on a computer. Here's the page right here, and he labels it. He labels it what really happened on Murder World, January 30th. He uploaded it, and he puts it on YouTube, which I thought it was funny. And right away it has 8 views and 16 views, and right away it goes up because it's all over the news of what happens on Murder World. So really interesting stuff. It was a good conclusion to the series. However, I felt it was very rushed at this last issue. But it was a solid series overall, and if you guys get a chance to read it in trade, definitely check it out. So 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next we have number 6, and that is Superior Carnage, issue number 5. Superior Carnage was a solid ending as well. We get to see everything come to a conclusion with the Claw, with the Wizard, and everything that happens to the actual symbiote. In this issue, you get to see the narration by the Wizard, and we get to see everything that's happened. Superior does a job of trying to get Cletus Cassidy to Laurel, excuse me, the symbiote over from the Wizard back into Cletus, and what happens, though, is that it seems like the symbiote's starting to take form of itself in a way, and doesn't always need a host. But it was an interesting issue. We get to see the Claw just do one last damaging blow to the symbiote, and by the time we get to the end of the issue, we find out that we learn about the Wizard, how he's not going to die, how his dementia is being cured, and we learn that Cletus Cassidy, also by wearing the symbiote, is not lobotomized anymore, and he is actually all well and good. And the Carnage miniseries will continue. So it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I thought that this, out of all 4 issues, I thought the first issue was really good. The second issue was horrible. The third issue I thought made up for things, and I thought this issue was okay. A decent ending, but I wasn't just like floored by the whole thing. So I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, we move on to number 6, and that is Scarlet Spider, issue number 24. Kane does his little whininess again because he loses. Well, he doesn't lose, but his good friend Donald was almost murdered, and we got to see that in the last issue with Craven and his daughter. And so he's whining a little bit, but and we can see Wally is the one that's looking for him. He's looking for him to try to arrest him, find out what past things that he's done. And but if there was one person that tried to make Kane feel better, it was Annabelle, and they wind up going into taking their relationship to the next level. Well, so you thought. We wind up finding out that it's some weird, crazy like duplicate creature, and we also find out that Wally wanted Kane dead, but it's just because out of anger and frustration. And then we wind up seeing a character that we saw in the past with Scarlet Spider, and had to do with this rich guy's, I forgot who he was, but it had to do with this rich guy, and it's his daughter, and now he wants revenge, or she wants revenge after Kane as well. So interesting issue here. There's some funny moments between Arcely and Kane, but this issue, I felt that there's a lot of loose ends to still tie up, and we only have one more issue left. I think Arcely's coming to the New Warriors, and Kane's coming to the New Warriors. So in a way, I think their story somehow is going to continue, and you're not going to see the last of the supporting cast in this series. But this book was interesting. It was good. It had great artwork. I liked it. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, we're on our, I think, number 4. Yep, we're on number 4. And number 4 is Forever Evil tie-in, and that is Argus issue number 2. I thought this was a good issue. Had lots of stuff going on here. This series surprised me. It was like my sleeper pick of the week. If you guys want to check out an article I did on comicfrontline.com, that's Dark Avenger Inc.'s written side of things. I did a written review on this. And I thought this all had to be about just Steve Trevor and Argus. Well, it's much more than that now when you get to issue number 2. You get to see the return of Dr. Light, but he destroys Argus headquarters, which is very interesting. But in the meantime, you have Deathstroke and Blackbuster, and you have all these goons trying to take out Steve Trevor as well. But in the meantime, Steve Trevor has to rescue the President of the United States, and you see that as well here. Which is clearly President Obama. You can get that. And then as the issue goes along, all of a sudden when he rescues President Obama, you get this reintroduction to Killer Frost. Just in case you have not read the Villains Month issue. And I love that Villains Month issue with Killer Frost. And they reintroduced her character, and how she fits into this Argus issue, I don't know. So it kind of interrupted the flow. But still, it was a good story to see. And you get to see what her story is about, how she needs to kill people to stay warm, to still have a soul, which again was interesting. But then we learn more about what the secrets are of Argus. There's these different rooms. There's the Black Room. There's the Circus. And then there's this particular room that Steve Trevor goes to, which is called the Wonder Room. And he is determined to find out what happened to Wonder Woman because he knows that Wonder Woman is not dead. And so he goes to this mirror and he goes back and he talks to the Weird Sisters. Interesting, really interesting things here. I didn't expect this to go where it went. Steve Trevor also had to put President Obama in this panic room that's like in nowhere. It's like in no existence where no one can find him. So that was pretty cool too. But it's left with lots of cliffhangers at the end of this issue. And if this is a series that you guys passed up, I think you might want to give this a try. Just if you thought issue 1 was kind of boring, maybe give another couple issues and see where it goes from here. So I like this issue. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Wish the artwork was okay, but the inks was a little bit rough in there. So next we move on to our top 3. Number 3, that is the Superior Spider-Man issue number 22. I like this issue a lot. This was a really good issue. Had a struggle between my top 3 this week, and we get to see the reintroduction of Venom in the particular issue, and the way they reintroduced him into the series was really good because it had to do with a better storyline from the Venom series, where it had to do with Crime Master and Betty Brant, and so we see that Crime Master is back, and Venom wants to find out what's going on because we all witnessed, if you read Venom, the Crime Master's death. So right away he's going back in town and he's trying to figure out everything that's happening. In this issue, you get to see great interactions between Aunt May and J. Jonah Sr. and Annabelle as well. We get to learn that Aunt May is going to get her hip or her leg fixed, and that's going to be due to cardiac, which I thought was really good, how they're putting him in Parker Industries as well, because that business has started now. And you get to see a little bit of, of the Wraithen here as well, which is Captain Wannabe, I think her name is. And she sees that Carly Cooper's place is destroyed. And she does some investigating and finds out what's happening with Carly. Again, you get to see the relationship development between Anna Maria and Superior as well. And then by the time you get to the end of the issue, you get to see that there's Superior and Venom meet up, and they wind up starting to do a battle against each other. And basically, Superior wants nothing to do with Venom. All he sees in him is evil. Doesn't realize that it's Flash Thompson. And that's how we are left off at the end of the issue. Where this story arc goes is yet to be determined, but I think it's going to be a good one until this Goblin Nation comes out. So I really enjoyed this one. I think I gave it, I'm not sure if I gave it a 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5, but definitely a book that you should read this week. One of the better Superior Spider-Man titles, in my opinion, otherwise. So next we go on to number 2, which was Hawkeye issue number 14. This issue all has to do about Katie Bishop, and I thought her character was done perfectly in this particular issue. If you wanted to know how Katie Bishop acts without Hawkeye around and how her true personality is in this issue, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the issue, the humor in the issue was great. I thought the artwork, even though it's not done by David Aja, it usually does this. It's done by Annie Wu, I think, or Matt Hollingsworth. And I thought it fit the book fine. I thought for a Katie Bishop issue, you really got to see that quirkiness and that attitude of Kate Bishop. You get to see her wink a couple of times. There's great facial expressions. And what she's doing here is she's in L.A. and she's looking for some work, and she's spending time away from Clint. And the issue opens up, and it's kind of funny. She's sitting here going after this special cat food, and there's always this guy in this trench coat that's looking after her, which I thought was hysterical. She's completely broke, so she puts herself online as a hero for hire, private investigator, whatnot. And the first thing you come out to, as she tries to make copies for some particular flyers for her job, she winds up coming across her first real job, and she has to save these orchids, which is so funny. And we find out there's this particular guy, his name is called the Weed Master, and he has to grow these orchids for a particular character at the end of this issue. And you find Katie Bishop just going in here, pointing her nose where it's not supposed to be. And you see the captain of the police force saying, get out of here before I have you killed or arrested. But she just won't give up. She wants to find out what is the bottom of this. Who is taking these orchids? And she finds out who it is, and just with a little bit of help of this particular imaginary friend or whatnot that's given her this advice. I loved how she's drawn in this issue. I thought it was a perfect issue, honestly. And by the time you get to it all, she goes to this plan A to plan B, because plan B is always going to be the plan A, because plan A is stupid. I thought the dialogue was hysterical. And by the time you get to it, she finds out she has the guy arrested by taking some selfies of herself and some of the guy and of the criminal. And all along, though, these orchids were for Madame Mask. That's all it was, for her bath. That's why this particular guy took these orchids just for her, and it was just so funny. It was a great issue. I really liked it. The only thing that's missing from here is Hawkeye, but this is not what it was about this time. It was about Katie Bishop, and this was a really, really good book. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And my number 1 book of the week is The Walking Dead issue number 117. Things really moved forward here, really progressed a little bit in this, progressed in this particular issue, and you learn more about Negan's character and the crazy thing that he does at the end of this issue. Something happens in here where you expect him to do the worst thing possible, but he doesn't do it. He saves the person's life. And in this particular issue, you get to see Negan and Holly here. And Holly was the one that put herself up front, forward, to save Rick's life, to let the zombies in his facility in order, in order to strike first blood in this war. So the zombies are sitting there invading Negan's facility. And at first, Negan thinks that Holly is Andrea. And it just backfired in its face, because it's not him. And it's just, Negan's not, all of a sudden, not getting his way. He's not getting any luck whatsoever. And they wind up taking Holly away. In the meantime, they have to deal with all the zombies that are coming into the facility. And it's going to take them some time. And you see Rick and Michonne strategizing what to do next, how they struck first blood. Really interesting stuff here. You get to see some zombie action that you haven't seen in the series in a while, and you get to see Negan and his guys defending themselves against the zombies, which was nice to see as well. And finally, we get to see Negan finally, it looks like he's overwhelmed. He's just broken up a little bit. The zombies are taking over this facility, like I said, in massive numbers, and he curses up a storm in the entire issue. He just doesn't know what to do next. Next thing we see Holly, and Holly's all tied up, and she's being used for, I guess, maybe ransom or whatever it is. And this guy, his name is David, and he tries to ask Holly for water, and he's like, "Oh, do you want water?" And she's like, "Oh, yes." But the next thing you do is he tries to rape her, and the last person you expect to be her rescuer is Negan right here, and he says the last thing we do is rape here. He goes, "You don't do that," and he's like freaking out. The guy's freaking out. He's like, "Okay, please, I understand." Please, I won't. He's like, "I'm sorry, sir." And then what Negan does is he takes the knife and just gashes it right in his neck and kills the guy on instinct. And the last words that come out of Negan's mouth in front of Holly is, "I'm sorry you had to see that. I really want you to understand, we are not monsters." And that's how the issue ended. Really interesting stuff. There's actually some good humor here between Holly and Negan. How she says she's not Andrea because she has a couple of extra cup sizes on her. I thought it was hysterical. Negan's cursing up a storm like he normally does, and I just think this event, as it unfolds, it's just going to get better and better and better. I really enjoyed this issue. It's been a long time since The Walking Dead has been the #1 issue on the countdown, but I thought this one deserved the spot this week, and The Walking Dead just hitting it out of the park altogether uh, with the episode last night that was on also. So there you have it, guys. You've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and you just watched the countdown episode number 38. And guys, please leave your comments below. What were your favorite comics of the week? What were your worst comics of the week? And guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.